This, what I'm about to talk about, has literally been puzzling me for the last couple of days. And I said, let me just go ahead and do a video about it, especially since it seems some places have already started to mandate this into their nations. Now, someone has sent me an article on Twitter about how in the Philippines, they've already, I think, began to start heading into this direction where they're rolling out something called, well, you know what I call it, the Wuvid19 passport, which is a whole separate passport from the one that you would get if you're traveling abroad. Like, this passport is digital and is basically supposed to show that you took the vaccine and that you basically for immunization purposes in order to travel to various locations. And one of my biggest questions was, is this going to be also for domestic traveling as well, meaning traveling within the nation that you currently reside in? But since I'm talking about the US, will this be a requirement to travel from state to state by plane? And if so, what is that going to mean for a lot of airlines? Because I know a lot of people are not going to want to do this, but it's like they're literally forcing a lot of people's hands when it comes to this. Like, I've done a video where they're talking about how, you know, they're paying people this amount of money. I even heard someone saying something about grocery bills and all types of stuff. Like, they're literally trying to do everything they can to get people to take this vaccine in a desperate attempt that they actually take it. Now they're also implementing this right here, saying, look, you have to have proof that you have taken the vaccine and that you are cleared to travel. And we have to see proof that you are good. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article that's coming from healthline.com. And the title reads, will airlines require vaccine passports in 2021? And it was posted on December 8th, 2020. After grinding to a near halt during the pandemic, travel is poised to make a major comeback in 2021 once the Wuvid19 vaccine becomes widely distributed. Governments and airlines may be requiring travelers to get the immunization and prove it with a new form of digital documentation called a vaccine passport. Here's what we know so far about the forthcoming vaccine passport, along with some expert insight on what to expect when traveling next year. The International Air Transport Association, also known as the IATA, an airline trade association that represents 290 airlines worldwide, announced on November 23rd that it was in the final stages of developing a digital vaccine passport for travelers. Dubbed the IATA Travel Pass, the digital health document will provide travelers with a way to get a certification of things like their vaccination status and Wuvid-19 test results from medical facilities that share information with airlines and border authorities. Travelers would carry their certified Wuvid-19 health information via a new contactless app from the IATA. Alan Joyce, the chief executive officer of the Australian Airlines Qantas, which, by the way, I did do a video about him and I had to correct myself. If y'all didn't see the comment that I left on that video, I said that that was in the UK. The airline that he's the over is in Australia. Has told journalists that he thinks getting vaccinated against Wuvid-19 and likely proving that they had the immunization will be a necessity before getting on a flight. Other airlines are still mum about possible requirements on their flights, but experts say that travelers should expect to show proof of immunization once the vaccine becomes available to most people in the United States, likely next spring. Airlines don't want to be accused of serving as vectors for the virus and passengers on board, said Dr. Robert Quigley, a senior vice president and global medical director of International SOS and a health and security services firm in MedAir, which offers training, medical equipment, and other services for flight crew and passengers. It's all about protecting against the transmission of the disease and not bringing it to areas that are unaffected, he added. So far, experts like Quigley believe that the vaccine passport will mainly apply to international trips rather than domestic journeys, but travelers should keep an eye out for announcements from airlines over the coming months to ensure they have the right documentation for upcoming flights. Now, they just answered my question that I had in the beginning. And that question, of course, was, in case y'all missed it, would this affect domestic travel, just traveling from within, or is it just for international travel? And they basically said for right now it's for international travel, but, and there's always a but in there, they need to keep an eye out because anything can change in the future. Travelers should also stay up to date on vaccination requirements and other measures destinations may implement on foreign visitors next year. While the proposed vaccination passport has made headlines over the last couple of weeks, showing proof of immunization at certain borders is nothing new. The yellow fever vaccine is sometimes required for travelers coming from or going to countries where there's a risk of that disease, such as Uganda and Brazil. Travelers typically show proof of their yellow fever vaccination at borders using the World Health Organization's International Certificate of Vaccination and Prophylaxis, a yellow booklet filled out by a physician. The yellow booklet for the yellow fever vaccination is sort of an obsolete solution from a time when everything was written on paper, said Dr. Martin Krzak, an infectious disease specialist with the UC Health Infectious Disease Travel Team Clinic at the University of Colorado and Schultz Medical Campus. What's new about the forthcoming vaccination passport is the digitization of the health information, which would offer a more streamlined way for border agents and airlines to vet the growing number of travelers who will likely soon be required to show proof of immunizations at many more places around the world. Just because you get the Wuvid19 vaccine doesn't mean you won't have to follow other precautions that have become common when traveling during the pandemic. I'm glad they said that, because you can probably have some of them knuckleheads out there that's going to be like, well, I already took the vaccine and or I took a test and it said this and it said that, so why do I have to do this and why do I have to do that? You're going to have a lot of that. It's like I said, this is going to be a mess. It's going to be very hectic. It is going to be very interesting as well. Like, I can only imagine how the people who have to work at these airports and have to fly these planes are going to have to deal with all these individuals who want to travel, and when it's coming down to this, if they even travel. I wonder how much money airlines have lost this year. There will be continued efforts by airlines, airports, and the travel industry as a whole to focus on hygienic best practices, said Quigley. That's a good thing and long overdue, and I think it will persist, perhaps even forever. Travelers should expect to continue wearing masks and social distancing on their journeys over the next year. They may be exempt from other requirements such as quarantining at the destination once they have proof of vaccination, though. Essentially, the major improvement offered by the vaccination passport could be freer mobility, he said. Some particularly strict lockdowns would no longer apply to the carriers of such passports. For now, travelers should continue to monitor what's going on in the industry in regard to the vaccine passports and other requirements. It's still very fluid, and we don't know what's going to happen with regard to these passports, said Quigley. They're strongly encouraged in the industry, and that initial notice by the IATA is the first indication that something is going to change in the industry. So you just heard all of that right there. And like I said, this is going to be very interesting, and it's going to definitely heavily affect people who like to travel, maybe for leisure purposes, or people who have to travel, say, for business purposes. So people, like, it's a double-edged sword. It's like they know some people do not trust taking this vaccine because of the way that it's been rolled out so quickly. And I actually had a discussion about this with someone earlier today, basically saying I would not be surprised if they try to hide the numbers of people who took the vaccine and it kind of had a bad side effect for them, and they only talk about the people who it seemingly worked for. So in order to get more people to take it, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't trust this vaccine until I see more and more people take it and see that they're okay and they give the go ahead, and then maybe I'll go ahead and do it. But like I said, you don't underestimate these industries to hide those numbers of people that were affected by this in order to get more people to take this vaccine, because they know people are on edge when it comes to it. That's all I'm really saying. But with that being said, I want to know from y'all, what do you think about this digital passport, this vaccine passport that they have coming out? Because it's coming. It is coming. It is on the way. Notice that a lot of the places outside of the U.S. are the ones really rolling it out for right now. But then it's going to eventually come to the U.S. because, as you heard, they said that they plan on rolling out the vaccine for us in spring of next year, which is basically exactly a year from when Wuvid19 officially hit the U.S. So I'm curious. And are you a traveler? That's what my next question. Are you a traveler? And what does this mean for you? Like, are you going to take this to continue to travel, or are you going to cut down on your travel and just, travel from within? But like I said, keep in mind, don't be surprised if they decide to do this for domestic travels as well. And don't think that they won't bring it down even to a grounds level as well when it comes to places like unemployment or schooling or something like that. Trust and believe. I wouldn't put it past them that they are working towards the ground. They're just saying we're going to take care of the air right now because a lot of people like to travel, and then we'll work on the ground later. They said we're going to find a way to get people to get that vaccine no matter what, whether you want to take it or not. But with that being said, I'm going to hop off of here. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one.